So Mark, I really wanted to come and do this course with us for a deeper peace of mind. So firstly, welcome, Mark.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh no, it's definitely an honor to have you as part of one of our courses. So you don't know how big a part you've played in my journey of creating a little peace of mind, and everything I've learned from you right back from 2014. So it's really exciting for me to actually have you here on this, to do this little course with me. So thank you. So I heard Mark speak recently at the Three Principles Conference, and I was sharing with Mark before we hit record. I was really touched and moved by what he had to share. And I wanted to bring some of that magic to you guys here who are watching, which is one of the reasons I've got Mark here. But Mark's quite different from a lot of our speakers, our normal course participants, because this is going to sound funny, but like he's a real professional in this field. Like he has a proper practice and he works with clients in this field. And so I really wanted him to come and talk to us about mental health, the simplicity behind that, and so much more. But this week, we're just going to kick off by talking about mental health. So Mark, just to give you some context, everyone on this call is really, they know mental illness inside out, right? Like if their experience is similar to mine, I knew everything there was to know about anxiety. So I'd buy books on anxiety. I was very interested in that in my psychology degree and my second psychology degree and all my personal development. I learned everything I could about anxiety and how to get rid of anxiety. I did NLP, I did tapping, I did everything to get rid of anxiety.
Yeah.
Never occurred to me to learn what mental health was.
Yeah.
So I'd love it if you would share your perspective on if people are bumping into this like I did for the first time, like, hang on a minute, mental health. I'd never thought about that before. Like, I'd love it if you'd share your take on why it's so important that we look in that direction and not just into mental illness.
Well, thank you for that. And again, I'm just thrilled to be here and share the understanding that, I've just been blessed to see through my years of work as a traditional psychology practice and working a lot with anxiety disorders and depression. And actually just recently completed a part-time work in a university inpatient setting where people are really suffering from more severe aspects of the illness, the health illness continuum. So I want to start by saying, what I'm sharing today does not ignore or deny people suffering from emotional issues like anxiety or depression. People do. But what opened up for me in my understanding of Sydney Banks' teachings way back from 1983 is really to look at the fact that we have health. We have what we would call mental health. And probably in the last 2 months, I've seen it even more deeply. Particularly after the experience I've had with people who were suffering from more serious aspects of it. They had anxieties too. So I'm very familiar with the distress that causes people. But to start with, I want to look at the fact that when people talk about mental illness and mental health, they're looking at a continuum outside of our nature. They're looking at how you present yourself and what is actually your experiences. So they're looking to see, is your thinking organized? Are you in touch with reality? Are you having stressful thinking? What are your feelings like? So to me, it's at all of what has been created, from who we are. And that's what people are describing. People are describing where you are now at that moment in your life. And it's kind of putting a description on your behaviors, your thinking, and your feelings.
Mm.
And right from the beginning, the first day in listening to Sydney Banks, I woke up to the fact that we're more than that, that we have within our consciousness um, a knowledge, a wisdom to live way beyond the level of learning we grew up in, the level of experiences we now have. And that really, although I couldn't understand how to do that, I was touched by the truth of that. Something woke up in me that we really are more than where we are experiencing life now. And it's, well, he would talk about it as well-being or a spiritual consciousness. So how I've come to see it is that when people are suffering from uh, issues like anxiety or depression, you and I are at a level of consciousness. We're at a level of understanding of how our human functioning works, how life works, what our true nature is. And what Sydney Banks presented to me was that there are other levels of consciousness. I had no idea around the idea of levels of consciousness. And all he means by that is that there are levels of understanding about your true nature. And there are levels you can live that brings you more in harmony with your true nature, to the well-being you're looking for. There are levels that you can reach. There are levels of understanding you can find about how the mind works that really brings you beyond what you're experiencing now, the distress you're experiencing now. And that really brought hope to my life. And it brought hope to my work with people, that I really had something that could really, I could talk to people about, that would really allow them to, live beyond their learned ways. And I don't mean any disrespect for people suffering, but really what we get into distress of anxiety or depression, what we're really up against is our learned ways of thinking that create insecurity in us, that create fear or worry or concern. Sydney Banks really shared that no one um, grows up in life without learning ways that create insecurity. It's part of the consciousness all of us are born in. Some more than others have higher degrees of insecurity that they learn. But the hope of this understanding is you could live beyond that. Isn't that something? You can live beyond your conditioned way of thinking. So, so what this understanding points people to is to look within, to the way they're using the power they have to think. Not look within to your thinking and do something with that, but to look deeper, to look quieter, to the fact that you are always part of this energy that gives you the capacity to create the experience you're having of life moment to moment. It's a beautiful gift because it allows you to know your life. It allows you to see life and know friendships and relationships and know nature. Along with that, though, that power also is affected by how you've been taught to use it, whether you've been taught to be an angry person, a worrier, a joyful person. And so what this understanding points us to is something before the thinking we're looking at, that in most approaches to anxiety they look at how the thinking thinking is related to the feelings you're having. This understanding points you to the fact that something formless, some energy is going on before that, that you're innocently using, that creates the experience you're having, we're calling anxiety. And it really is, cannot be intellectually understood. It happens as you gain more reflection on the fact that you are really this spiritual energy that has the power for you to think in a way that will create your experience. And that happened to me too. When I heard that the first time, honestly, something resonated in me that that's true. My feelings are being created through this power. I knew that to be true somewhere in me. I didn't know how to live that way. And so this ongoing learning for me with Sydney Banks' teachings really brought for me a glimmer of knowing that I can now look within and wait till I see something from within, rather than try to tackle the thinking that's creating anxiety or depression in the moment. Um, so that's one of the first aspects around helping me move more toward mental health, because the realization, the insight to where your experience is really being created shifts you into a different level of consciousness than the level of consciousness in which anxiety is formed. And that little shift begins you hearing from yourself thoughts that take you beyond anxiety. For example, I was just talking to someone last week, coaching them. And as we were talking about this nature of thought, all of a sudden they said, you know, Mark, I just realized something when you were talking. I don't have to think all of the thoughts I have. I've been thinking every thought that comes up, I just kept thinking it. I kept giving all of that attention, and it was overwhelming me. And what you were saying, I just woke up to the fact I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have to attend to every thought I have about myself. That was that person's waking up to look beyond their thinking. And once they had that shift, they got their own way. They got their own way about how to handle the way they're thinking. And that will stay with them forever. That will free them up. Not what I give them as ways to think, but what they find as ways to think. So that's the one. So there's some simplicity here in that you look within to the way you're using the power of thought. It's profound though, because you can't intellectually get that. It comes, it's there for you to realize. It comes from realization learning, insight learning. So you stay reflective. You keep looking to see if you could get a glimmer of that. What helped me is to continue to learn from Sydney Banks. I would recommend reading his books because they're written to wake that up in you. Yeah. The second part that I wanted to share about mental health is all of the definitions from people in the professions looking at people's emotions and thinking, what they call symptoms, has made the definition to me as a professional look very complicated. And it's based on people, having changes in those areas of their lives, and it looks complex and complicated. And one day, speaking with Sydney Banks, he simply said that mental health is contentment. And it hit me. Again, when he shared things this deeply, it just resonated through all of me that's it. It's that simple. I didn't know, though, again, what that meant. And then he went on to say, it's satisfaction with what is. And I thought, oh my goodness, coming from this field in which it looked really complicated, where I had to get people to change and so forth. You mean that all that people had to find was this sense of contentment? He said, yes, it's a state of consciousness. Now, I want you to look at it from, this is how it's come to me. Um, uh, it's kind of like a space within us, within our consciousness. And I bet you have been there too, where you just have this beautiful feeling. People might call it pure love, pure peace. These are just ways to describe something that's not describable. You just have this experience of beautiful, beautiful feelings. And the sense of it that really means that it's mental health is that when you're truly in that space, you're not thinking about yourself. You feel connected to more than just you. So you know you're there, but you're not thinking about you. Your thinking about you is quiet, and you're just filled with these beautiful feelings. So what does that mean? Well, that means that um, you're not thinking you need more. You're not thinking you're lacking. You're not um, thinking life is scary. You're not thinking there's something wrong with you. All of that is gone the moment you touch contentment. That's why it's mental health, because in that space, really, you have access to pure wisdom. The innate knowledge we're given in our lives when we're born that stays with us about how to move our lives to where we're in the state of happiness, well-being, insights, realizations, and gain the power to handle situations that come up for us. But I was astounded to see the simplicity of that. You don't have to do all this stuff to find mental health. Sid said to us, and I've come to see this, that it's already in us. We already have happiness. We already have peace of mind. We already have well-being were it not for habitual thoughts. And I don't mean that again with disrespect. I mean that with power. All of us, when we're in distress, in anxiety, depression, paranoia, are just caught up in our learned ways of thinking. All of us, me too. To know that brings freedom of thinking. To really know that gives you the power that you're given to use thought any way you want to use it. That's where you go toward mental health. And so it's simple in that it's contentment. Nothing else, right? It's contentment. But that's profound because, try getting there on, try intellectually getting there. But to just know it exists for me, again, gave me hope in life. And I started to look toward that, meaning that I looked within to moments when I'm happy. When they arrived, I tried to stay there and nurture them.
Yeah, it's
So for me now, with all respect to people suffering from various disorders, there is a level of consciousness that we can live in that Sid describes as contentment that brings all we're looking for. And we would call it mental health, because in that, you're just in your happiness. You're in well-being. You know steps to take to live your life close to people, in relationships, involved in your life.
one of the
So
things, Mark, just in what you're saying there that just comes to mind. I don't know if you think this is true, but those you don't have to figure out how to make your panic attacks go away for this irrepressible mental health to show itself. Now, you can have a panic attack every day for a month, and yet in that month there'll be moments of pure happiness. interspersed between the panic attacks. You don't, it's already there. It's not like you kind of, when you're struggling with anxiety and panic, you think, well, I need to do my 8-week program, and at the end of that, once all my panic attacks are gone, then I'll find mental health. But my job is to eliminate the panic and the anxiety, and after that there'll be mental health. But if I remember my 20 years of panic and stress and all the rest of it, there were moments, if not every day and maybe not even every week, but every month, it would, in the midst of all the panic attacks, I would still have those moments. It's irrepressible. And you can never find it by going looking for it, right? Like you said, you can't think yourself to contentment. But it's like we talked about it on one of our other videos, it's like a pinprick of light that comes up through it all.
Yeah.
Because the light's always there underneath. It just, and when you get eyes for the light rather than the darkness, you just start seeing more pinpricks of light until you get curious about, where's that coming from?
I love that. I think there's a few things that are valuable in what you said. I think there is the thinking that, well, wait till I tackle this and get this under control and reduce, then I'll be happy. But the truth of the matter is happiness, well-being, contentment, the health you're looking for is already here, were it not for the thinking we innocently get into. So take care of yourself if you're having a panic attack, but don't wait until you don't have any before you think you can be happy. You already are. See, it's levels of consciousness and they change all day long. That's why you can have a panic attack, which is a lower level of consciousness, a lower level of understanding of what you truly are, right? Your habitual thinking. And as you move away from that, you rise into another level, which can move you more toward just feeling peace or relaxed or getting about your day, or thinking more positively, whatever starts to come up for you. That's why you could say you had moments when you felt happy or a bright rays of light came through because your level of consciousness rose. And this is changing all day long. That's all that's going on. When you've dropped into a panic attack, one of the things Sid said that was really helpful is just to have a courage to know that all that happened is that your level of consciousness dropped. That's all that happened. What usually happens for people is that's a signal that, again, that gets them into more frightening thoughts. And again, that's the nature of it. But again, all that happened is you just dropped into a level of consciousness where you got fearful and anxious or panicky again. But just realize that um, that you're going to experience different levels of consciousness, so that you can have moments where you feel peace or happiness or love. Um, and right now, you don't have to wait till something is over.
That gives me absolute goosebumps, because like what I just realized, like, I don't have to wait until my whatever situation it is that looks problematic, right? With me, it's like my kids are going nuts at the moment. I don't have to wait till that's resolved to find well-being. I don't have to wait till my panic attacks have been gone for some arbitrary 6 months or something to say that I'm all clear now, I can be happy. I don't have to wait until my boss hands their notice in. I don't have to wait until my husband finds a job. I don't have to wait till my bank account reaches a certain number. Like right now, without having to wait, here it is. No need to wait. And when you know that, the need to change that situation, so the need to change the kids so that I can be okay, the need to change the bank account so that I can be okay, the need to fix the panic attacks so that I can find peace of mind, all pressure off.
Mm-hmm.
There's no deadline, there's no time scale, there's no need.
What's beautiful as well is that when you're able to the touch, what we're calling contentment, is the space of consciousness where there's well-being. What's beautiful about our true nature is you'll be given um, higher quality thinking to handle that life you just described that you get panicked about. It'll come to you, just like it did to that example I gave you about that man that he just realized, I don't have to think everything that comes to my mind. I can let go of a lot of my thinking and just live. And you'll see that as you open up to welcoming in moments where you do get freedom from your anxious thinking, and you feel a sense of well-being or a feeling of hope, you know. And what you can do when you have those moments is nurture them, like people nurture their garden. You know, they're planting flower seeds. They make sure that it's got good fertilizer and it's weeded and it's watered. So when you have a moment of a nice feeling, stay in it. Don't, most people say, oh, that's nice, but I still have, you know, and I still have a lot of work to do with feeling better most of my day, you know. And it's that kind of yes, but that takes us away from just sitting in that nice feeling, because that's the answer. The minute you have a feeling of well-being or peace or feeling of love or tenderness, all of these are manifestations of that consciousness of contentment. Stay there. Keep yourself there. Be quiet about yes, but, or thinking about yourself. See, that you go back to thinking about yourself, and that quickly moves you away from it, because in that moment, it doesn't have anything for you except just a beautiful feeling. But as you stay there, you'll start to get thinking beyond that level of consciousness that's creating anxiety or depression.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful place to end, mainly because having just had that insight with you, like, you don't have to wait. I mean, I know that, but no, really, you don't have to wait, right? Like, I feel it right now in this moment. So, like, I'm going to stop for now, and then we'll come and talk about the next topic. I'm doing as I'm told, so I'm going to stick with this feeling. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, you're welcome. Great, again, to be able to share that.